Shevuot Daf Yod Het Amud Aleph, 8 lines down. Amarava. V'tarvayu Taninu Kinisat Tanina Prishat Tanina. He said we have Mishnayot that teach us that the same way it's a sword for a person to go in by Nida, so to buy out. Prishat Tanina going out. We have Mishnah. The Takatani. The Mishnah says, "Hayam Beshemesh Mitavra Slim with the Torah woman Vamradon Nidmeti," and she said, "I'm tameh." Upiresh miyad, he withdraws immediately while he's still aroused. Hayav is chayav. Now, Knisat didn't have also Mishnah. Nimsa al shalot. The guy was with a woman, and he finds blood on his clothing after he cleans himself. Timein, they're both tameh. V'chayim korban also chayav korban hatat. Now, my lab is amuchlis vesta. Maybe this is referring to the case where she was close to getting her period. V'aknisat referring to the entry chayav. The Gemara said, no, I can tell you, that was not close to a period. The Afrisha, and this is talking about not the entry, but the removal. So you want to say, why do I need to teach you? We already have it. We already have the definition that teaches us withdrawal. The Gemara says, no. You now teach me that if the blood found on her, to effect that tamei out of doubt. But I did the band mitten in Shalat, and I made them Shalat, therefore we have to bring a new case over here to teach you that if you find Tum'ah blood on him, they're both tamei and chayav korban. Can you explain that Mishnah? The Vesta, where it's not close to a period, Vaprisha is referring to withdrawal. But the Mishnah said it was found, the blood was found. The Nimsa the Batara Chimash, it sounds like it happened afterward. So it could be talking about um, first. Via Bishar, if we're talking about if he's talking about withdrawal, then he must have known that when he took it out, then he must have already known that she was bleeding in order to be a chayav for the withdrawal. The Gemara says, he says, listen, you better listen to what Ravina is telling you. Hey, Chimasit, he's like, 1 second, how can I explain the Mishnah? The writer says on this, like positive commandment regarding Nida. Then Mita, and they're going to tell me that the Isur is for going in. Mitzvah lo ta'aseh, it should be a negative commandment, not a positive commandment. There's a negative commandment to go in. And my answers them, if that's the case, Haser Tneachi, you have to reinterpret and explain the Mishnah as follows. Zui mitzvah lo ta'aseh shnidachin, that's referring to lo ta'aseh. Hayam Mishmeshim Torah, in the case now where a woman is Torah, but not version out that he withdraws after Seshes Tameh, Hayav, Zui mitzvah ta'aseh, that's the positive commandment. Should be nida regarding that. One more. Piresh mir Hayav, say the guy took out immediately Hayav. Hey Chayav, what should he do? Maravuna Mashmeh, Derav. No, I said it's Pornav Barkarka, he should stick his hand into the ground, meaning he should hold himself still. Achiyamut until his organ becomes limp and not aroused. Vituveh, and then it'll be good for him. Amar Barabah says it teaches just mishmesh met ba'arayot patur. Sounds like a person who has a limp organ without being aroused, and he's with a woman who's asur to him, he should be patur. If that's the case, then why in this case, when he pulls out when he's limp, not aroused, he should be chayav as well. Mishum danusu must be because an accident. Yanusu kiperish miyad not maybe pater. If it's a complete accident, he should be completely patur. Anusu. Where it says, really it's different. A person who's not with an unaroused organ with women who are asur to him is chayav. It's a complete accident. Maybe you might tell me then he should be patur even if he pulls out immediately. No. The answer is he should have waited until he's not aroused to reduce the pleasure. And therefore, if he withdrew while he was aroused, he got more pleasure. That's why it's chayav. Meaning he's automatically going to get some pleasure on the withdrawal. But the reason why he's hayav if he's still aroused is because he should have waited. 1 second. If that's the case, we are seeing the concept of a long cut and short cut, yani long time and short time, regarding to nidah. We only mentioned it in the Mishnah regarding a person by the Beit HaMikdash taking a long cut or short cut out. Mar says, so how can it be? Mar says, no, simple. It's different. They're inverted. That's why we couldn't mention it. Meaning, The case of the long cut for the nida is the case of heter. You have to wait longer so that you're not chayav till the person is not aroused. Shorter for the nida will be chayav because he's still aroused. Vice versa, the inverse is by Mikdash, by Bet Mikdash. If he goes the long way, he's chayav for extra time. If he goes a shortcut, patur. There's a way say that a person with a unaroused organ is patur. Alma b'shlos and mochel v'sar. A case where it's not close to her period. Abaye says in the Mishnah that a person's chayav two kabaron chatat, one for in and out. Alma b'smochel v'sar a case where it is close to the period. How do you explain the Mishnah? The Gemara says no. Abaye case when Abaye said that you're anus, it's an accident, and you're batur. It's not in general. Not necessarily close to the period, it means in general. Our Mishnah is not the case close to the period. Okay. He says, how do we know from the Torah that it's a sword to be with a nida? Shakal Kala, he took Reb Shimon took a piece of dirt, Patak when he threw at him, and he said, Azharan lebol nida. What do you mean you need a source? Why would you need a source from the Torah? Pasuk says that outright. He says, no. Ella, no. I don't even know where's the source in the Torah that a person who is with a Torah woman and then she tells him while they're together that she's tameh. How do we know that he should not pull out immediately while he's aroused? The separation shall be on him, which means what? Even during the time of separation, it shall be separated. Ashka Nazir, Allah doesn't mean I know a negative commandment, I only see a positive commandment. Don't approach. That's what first don't withdraw. Okay, turn it on. You should be careful with this this is the reason. This is the source for the Hatan classes that the people should be separated from their wives when it's close to their period. The Kama, how much before? Maraba, Ona, one time period, which is a day or a night. Marab Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Bar Yochai. Kol Sheino Peresh Mishas Nuchuvista, whoever is not separated from his wife close to the time of her period. After Lavian Lobanim Kivnei Aaron, even if he has children, who the king like the sons of Aaron, Metin, they will pass away. Bar Minam. The Tif, says, Vizatem, and the Vavinta, Ebenei Salivatam. بيتم بين يسمى بتم ذهب بتم بتم بسميه هنا بس says حرمت ما بيشيا بابا خنان cooperate بيشتغل سنو بتم whoever separates from his wife before a period حبيبان بنين زخرين will have sons the thief لعبديل بين تمام بين طهار بسميه له the next passage says إيشا كي تزريع بياد زخار بيش من نبي هذا بنين بروين لهراء they have sons who are able to be like judges كتير الحفديل والهرات. Okay. أمر بحيا برا بمر خنان كم ديل على يعني متشبات whoever has had law with wine by متشبات حفيان لا بنين زخرين will have sons. كتير بس says لحفديل بين هكتش بين خال وكتير بعدين لا بس says لحفديل بين تمام بين طهور بتميخ له إيشا كي تزريع. بيشوف النبي غير. أمر بنين even the guys first not only sons but sons who will be good to judge. كتير بس says لحفديل الهرات. ما ربي من يمين مريا في تمر بين لزار. Whoever is when he's with his wife, he's modest. Will have sons. Next part of the Mishnah. So our Mishnah mentioned talking about sheretz. It brought on two opinions. It brought on Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer. However, it sounded like they said the same exact thing, which they did. They both said that a person's chayav only when he forgot he was tameh, but he remembered his tumah, but he forgot. But if he remembered his tumah, but did not realize that he's in the kadosh place or eating kadosh food, he's chayav. So Gemara says, what's the difference in both opinions? They're both saying the same thing. Hizkiah says sheretz umbrella. The difference is in the case of a sheretz or nebelah. Nebelah is an animal died without slaughter. Rabbi would hold for that case of the Beit Hamikdash be'inan ad yada ib'sheretz itmeh or b'nila tameh. Rabbi would say that no, the guy has to know whether or not he became tameh through a sheretz or nevelah. He'd have to be cognizant of what was the reason why he's tameh. Rabbi Akiva says, "Lo ba'in najeda." He doesn't need to know that. The kevan jeda itmeh lo lam. As long as he knows he's tameh plainly, lo tzarich ib'sheretz itmeh or b'nila tameh. He doesn't have to know what made him tameh. בכלל לא עושה elsewhere. Sheretz and that even now, the difference between them would be Sheretz and that. Look, I mean, because he had a stira between Eliezer and Mishani answered it. What was it? Me and Marbi Eliezer, but Inan Abdi Adag, Ibi Sheretz Itme, Ibn Eliezer, did Eliezer really hold it? You need to know what Tameh you became Tameh through, whether it was an insect or a nevela. But me, stira said the Eliezer, 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 Manosha. Person should have Kurban Hatat no matter what. حلب أخال خيار. If you ate حلب, he's خيار. Notar أخال خيار. If you ate notar, extra leftover meat, yeah, he's خيار from the Quran. Shabbat حلا خيار. He did ملاخا on Shabbat. يوم كبير حلا خيار. He did ملاخا on Yom Kippur. إشتو نداب بعل خيار. He's with his wife when نداب خيار. أحوته بعل خيار. He's with his sister. ما بيشوف يشوف عليه وما بيشوف أو هدا إلى حتى أشر حتى بها. He says, no, we use that pasuk of Baha to teach you, Ad shibada la lecha be'hata. Not only to know what you're bringing the Kurban Hatat, you have to be knowing what exact sin you're bringing it for. So therefore, sin is stira. There's other whole that you don't need to know. Umushani answers the stira hatam by the case of Kurban Hatat by the sins. Asher hata ve'hevi malachim. God says you should bring it. Het kol duhu koshu. Any type of sin. Hacham be'garin be'midash mirti. The pasuk says ktiv. Be'chol davar tameh. Or b'nevat sheretz tameh. Why does it mention any tameh? Or with the sheretz or nevelah? Why to bring that double down on that? Yes, obviously, you see from here, the Torah learns that the fact that I repeated it, you have to know what was the reason you're tameh. Kiva said, it argues and says, "Aidi divai lemichtav behema v'chaya." Once pasuk already needed to write the animal or a wild animal, looked at Rabbi for the reason of Rabbi. Rabbi done as Rabbi in the Mishnah in Tav Zayin said that he it's an extra word. You don't need to mention that. You could have just mentioned haya. Therefore, the Torah also wrote sheretz. Kitana the Reish Shmuel says, "Kol parasha shemena v'yishnik." Any parasha, any part of the Torah that is repeated more than once. Lo nishnik, it's not repeated for nothing. Ella b'shvil davar parashba must be has a chidush, right? And this chidush would be for the sheretz. Okay. Rabbi Elazar, hay baha ma'aribet. So now Rabbi Elazar did not learn that the word ba in that pasuk teaches you specifically those korbanot. What does he do with that ba? Perat limit asek. He says you're only chayav Korban Hatat if you intentionally did it, but if you did it while accidentally preoccupied with something else, you'd be patur. Right? So a guy who walks into the bathroom and he accidentally turns the light without spacing out, patur. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, Mashma'ud dershinik now. So we said earlier, what's the difference between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Yochanan says, there is no difference. We just, what their source is the difference. Pasuk. There's no difference. The Rav Sheshet Machlit, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Azar, and we see Rabbi Sheshet wasn't, when he quoted them, he wasn't so careful to say who said what, because it only mentioned, the only difference was which pasuk they used. But otherwise, it didn't make a difference. Therefore, when he would quote, he would say sometimes Rabbi Azar, sometimes he would say Rabbi Akiva. He would interchange them because to him it wasn't important because he held there wasn't a real difference.